Now, next up, same thing. Got my shoulder pressure, I'm holding them in nice and tight. I switch out, just a nice smooth transition. I'm coming around to the top, circling around. You get this. You get that hand just resting, just like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in and grab his knuckles. I'm going to keep my weight on top, and I'm going to wrist lock him. Jiu-jitsu guys do not like wrist locks. Okay? If no disrespect to Aikido, but if an Aikido guy starts grappling around with a Jiu-jitsu guy's going to wreck him. So Jiu-jitsu guys do not like to get caught in wrist locks because it's kind of like they got tapped out by an Aikido guy. But they work. They're legal. Use them. Okay? So the key is shoulder pressure, spin. Make your transition come around. It's just nice and smooth. When you get to here, you see that wrist bending in any fashion. You can either use the floor. See his knuckles are on the floor. I just lean my weight and I tap them out. Or I can grab with my own hand, push, lean my weight, and get the submission the same way. Pressure-wise, you need to make sure either the floor going right across the knuckles or the palm of my hand. If you get your hand too much up the hand towards the wrist, it gives support to the wrist, it's not going to tap them out. You need this type of movement right here to get the wrist lock. Okay? Now, third attack. Once I transition my way around and I come up, his arm is pushed across his throat. So I'm going to go in for an arm triangle. My arm, before, I was scooping, in this case, my left arm to pass the arm. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my opposite arm and wrap it under his neck, keeping all my body weight on that tricep. From here, bicep, head, start squeezing into the arm triangle. Now I find from here it's a little bit easier for the person to bridge out from the mount. So what I like to do is once I get to here, I hold, lift your foot, transition it across to the opposite side, and stretch out on the opposite side mount. Now, either just lock your palms together or full lock up and squeeze. It's a nice little arm triangle. Typically an arm triangle, you have their arm up by your neck and you're here squeezing. This one, it's actually under my own armpit and locking. And what's really nice about it is it doesn't take a lot of effort on my part because my body weight is keeping his arm pinned across his neck. All I have to do is focus on keeping the hold. So, you've got your side control of pressure, you're passing your arms, you're making your transition, stretching out their body, passing over the top. This time, when I circle, instead of this arm coming underneath, the arm that just came around the head is going to circle right up underneath. If you want, just go ahead and hold their shoulder. Now, foot up, slide across the stomach so they don't put you in half guard. Now, all your weight on that arm. Lock your hands, squeeze in, or stretch, lock, squeeze in, and get that arm triangle. Now, a lot of times, when you start doing this spin variation, especially when you're just starting out, if you're a little bit slow, you're going to come around the head, and when you come around the head, as soon as you're switching out, the person's going to try to bridge into you. This way, okay? If you keep your base, you may be able to hold it, because I can push my hips back into them and try to maintain. But one thing that I like to do, I don't want to fight with a big guy and just try to hold the position again. So when I get to here, if he starts bridging into me, I just switch back here to north-south, which again is going to start setting up other submissions, whether it's Kimura, going into like Munson chokeholds from the north-south position. A lot of variations. But just be ready to switch back. So if I come around this way, he starts to bridge into me, just switch back to this position. Especially if his arm's coming up again, it's going to give you a lot of variation attacks. Again, a reason why I like to do this and do this transition work. Okay? So, what we're going to do is as I come around and I get to this position, the next thing that's going to happen a lot of times is they're going to take their arm and they're going to block you. So now, I'd like to go to the mount It's not happening. I'm going to take my arm and I'm going to shoot it underneath the armpit. I'm going to switch my hips so that my hand can shoot through and grab the trap. Now, I'm going to pull him up and my knee in tight. I want to get this so that my arm and my leg are trapping that arm nice and tight. Now, I'm going to take my other hand, I'm going to slide it and grab his trap again. I'm going to flex my wrist into his throat. If you train with gi, the gi will teach you how to move your wrists. Always pushing the wrist. Even on something like this, no gi, still learn to flex your wrist. Now this movement is actually based on a gi hold where you grab the lapel, grab the opposite lapel, and choke down. But it still works very well no gi. If you just started a match with someone, they're tough, they're strong, they're fresh, and you go in for this choke, sometimes it can be difficult because they bonk, bridge, but if you can keep all your weight on top, you're wearing somebody down, middle of a match, towards the end of a match, you can definitely get a good submission. Even if you do it at the beginning of a match and you start wearing somebody down with the choke, the key is you're wearing them down. So if they do get out of it, in most cases, you've worn down their energy level and it gives you more variations on how you can attack them. So, from the side control, we make our transition around. As I come around, he blocks. When he blocks, I switch my hips, shoot through, and lock. Elbow, knee nice and tight, and I start to look for the choke. All I'm going to do is set all my weight over my arm, hold that trap, flex my wrist, and keep the weight down. Now, a lot of times when you go here, they're going to start using their arm to help block. Now, use your third arm, your head. Start pushing with your head, put your head on the floor. What I'm trying to do is get my head in between his arm and his head. So if I can get it down to the floor this way, facing up, now he doesn't use his arm. So I reach back in, I grab, now I set all that weight back in, all my weight directly over my arm. Don't grab the shoulder, grab the trap. Why? So that again, when I flex my wrist, instantly it chokes. If I grab his shoulder, it's just your forearm dropping across their throat. That's not going to tap them out. Trap, wrist, get your choke. So, we start combining a lot of this. You've got your side control. Just nice, smooth transitions around. Elongate, coming up, passing over the top. Pushing, pushing, pushing. When they start to resist, come back, sit back, push. Looking in for your submissions. Transition around. Coming up, oh look, the wrist. Grab it, pop it. Transitioning around. Circling over the top, foot up, coming across, arm triangles. Transitioning around. They start to block you. Either I'm going to switch my hips, or shoot the arm underneath, locking over the top, and going into submission. You can start doing submissions from this position all day long. Great way to start transitioning and opening up new avenues for your game.